It's World Storytelling Day, and since it's also the spring equinox, I thought I should tell you a story about the sun. Well, not just one sun, but 7 suns. You see, according to legend, there used to be 7 suns in the sky overhead, and they shone brightly down on the world all day long. Now, as you can imagine, with 7 suns shining in the sky, it was hot. It was ridiculously hot. It was so hot that nobody could do any work. All anyone could do was lie around sweating and panting and hoping for the night. And at night time, the 7 suns, because they liked being together, they would disappear over the horizon and it would get darker. But because there were 7 of them, the light in the sky round about never truly got dark. One night, 7 brothers were sitting around a campfire talking, discussing what they were going to do. Because you see, people could only do any work at night, and that was very inconvenient because although there was some light, you couldn't really get on with things. And during the day, everybody hated the day so much because this intense heat from all those suns just beat down on you and you had to hide. What about, said the littlest brother, what about, since we're all really good hunters, why don't we get up really early and go to the hill over there, and then we can shoot the suns as they come up, and maybe we can get rid of them. The brothers decided this was quite a good idea, and since they all enjoyed hunting, and hunting a sun, wow, that would be certainly something to boast about, they decided that yes, they would get their sharpest, straightest, truest arrows, and they would get up in the morning and go and shoot the suns. And that's what they did. In the morning, they went to the far hill and they stood just on the crest of it, waiting for the suns to break over the horizon on the mountains. And as the suns started to peek over the mountains, each of the brothers drew back their bows and arrows and let loose an arrow. One by one, the suns disappeared. They were shot, except the last sun managed to sneak back behind the mountain before it was hit. The brothers were so happy. They'd got rid of the suns. It was now dark. It was now really dark. Very, very dark. The only light in all the sky was the tiniest, thinnest, little glimmer of light from behind the mountain where the last sun was hiding. But the brothers had all managed, well, apart from one, they'd all managed to kill one of the suns. And they went home and they celebrated. And they sat around the fire and they were drinking and laughing and having a party. And the other sun didn't come back out again. It was too frightened now to ever show its face again. Now, the people were happy for a while because it wasn't quite so ridiculously hot anymore. But the animals were having terrible problems. They were bumping into each other. The rabbits were bumping into the tigers and the snakes were slithering over everybody else. Nobody could see anything. It was ridiculous. And so the animals all got together and had a big council. What are we going to do? They said. I don't know what we're going to do. We have to go and rescue the last sun. We have to persuade it to come back. So the lion, being the king of the jungle, stepped forward and said, I shall go, and I shall fetch the sun, and I shall bring it back, and I shall make it shine in the sky for all of us so we can see. And that's what he did. He went over to the far mountains to where that tiny little streak of light was still peeking out from the edge. And he roared. And he called and he said, I am the king of the forest and I command you to come out and shine for us. And he roared and he roared and he stamped his feet and clawed at the ground. But it was no use. The sun did not listen, and it stayed hidden. The lion stayed for days. Well, it would have been days had there been a sun in the sky. Eventually, his throat got sore and his paws got weak, and he went back to the jungle and admitted that he had not been able to get the sun to come out. The elephant said, "Well, I am the biggest of all the animals in the jungle. I shall go and get the sun out." And so she did. She trumpeted her way all the way to the mountains at the edge of the horizon, where the light was just peeking out. And she trumpeted and called and insisted and stamped her feet and said, "I am the biggest of all the animals, and I demand that you come out and shine for us." And she trumpeted and stamped and called and demanded for days and days, but the sun did not come out. The peacock next offered to go, because he was the most beautiful of all the creatures, with his tail shimmering and shining, if there'd been any light. And he went to the far mountains and he danced and he said, "I am the most beautiful creature in all the world. Sun, you must come out and shine for us." And it didn't matter how much he called or how much he danced, the sun did not come out. The animals were feeling very dejected by this point. It was getting really, really cold. Without the sun in the sky, the plants were beginning to die. Ice was starting to form everything. Everyone was getting very desperate. The cockerel stepped forward and said, I'll go and try." And everyone laughed. "The lion has tried, the elephant has tried, even the beautiful peacock has tried. What makes you think that you, a cockerel, will have any luck at all?" And the cockerel said, "Well, it can't hurt, can it?" And the animals agreed that no, it couldn't hurt. And so the cockerel went off to the far mountains to where that tiny little gleam of light was just peeking out. And the cockerel went and stood on a rock, and looking at that faint, faint trace of light, he decided to sing. And he made up a little song, saying, "Oh, sun, you're so wonderful, please come out and shine." Except, of course, the cockerel couldn't sing very well, so it sounded more like a cock-a-doodle-doo. And he sang again, "Oh, sun, you're so bright, please come out and shine. Cock-a-doodle-doo." And he did this for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3, 4, 5. And he kept doing it until the sun very slowly peeked out from the edge of the mountain, wondering what was going on. And the cockerel sang even louder, and the sun rose up into the sky, and suddenly everything, the world, was illuminated once more. And the cockerel went back to the jungle, and ever since that day he has always sung to welcome the sun into the sky. So if you hear a cockerel in the morning saying cock-a-doodle-doo, remember to thank him for getting the sun back into the world. And the 7 brothers realised that perhaps actually having the sun in the world was a very good idea, and they promised to leave the last one alone.